Vantaa, a city with over 233,000 residents, more moving in every year. Many consider Vantaa as a suburb to the capital of Finland, Helsinki, a young city that is only railways, motorways and apartment buildings. But Vantaa is a lot more, a city with a 9,000-year-old history. This is why we need to make the roots of the city better known and valued. Vantaa has always been a crossroad for people. Vantaa and Kerava rivers remind us about the first people who came to this area in the Stone Age. Swedish migrants arrived in Vantaa in the 13th century and founded roads and villages that still exist. The first written references to Vantaa date back to year 1331. Even after Helsinki was founded along the Vantaa River in 1550, the center remained for a long time in Helsinki Vicarage, where the oldest building in the entire metropolis, the Church of St. Lawrence, is still located. Because of the rivers and the roads going across the city, it was natural that different factories were founded in Vantaa since the 18th century. Agriculture was still the main industry. Workers and farmers lived in their small wooden houses, whereas the gentry built big manors that exist even today. When Finland's first railroad was built in 1862, Tikkurila, the present center of Vantaa, was the only stop between final stations in Helsinki and Hämeenlinna. In 1946, major parts of Vantaa were annexed to Helsinki, and it became a small rural district beside the capital. Extensive urbanization began after the Second World War. Population in Finland grew extensively and people migrated from countryside to cities. Many residential areas dominated by small houses were built in Vantaa. Helsinki was suffering from rising housing prices, and in the 60s and 70s, suburbs arose in Vantaa. They became highly popular and increased the city's population. Vantaa became a city officially in 1974, and today it is the fourth largest city in Finland. The city is run by Mayor Ritva Viljanen, and the city council has 67 seats. The governance is divided into 4 departments: education, culture, environment and healthcare. Helsinki-Vantaa Airport is situated in Vantaa, and normally over 19 million people land there every year. People have always come to Vantaa from all over the world, using the rivers, roads and now airplanes. Today, Vantaa is the most multicultural city in Finland with over 119 different languages spoken. Vantaa is also a net migration city. Good traffic connections and closeness to Helsinki have brought over 11,000 businesses and 100,000 jobs to Vantaa. Even though it is a busy city with several different centers, there are always only 300 meters to the nearest park or forest for most of the Vantaa residents. Connection and closeness to nature is what attracts people to Vantaa from the hectic capital. It makes Vantaa more familiar for those moving from outside the metropolitan area. There is more room for families, which make up to 55% of all households. Major part of residents is in working age and has completed at least a second-degree education. Cultural environments are environments where you can see the effect of humans in nature. It can be archaeological sites underground, it can be landscape with oat fields or barns, it can be historical or modern built heritage.
Mut sitten mun mielestä se ihan lempipaikka täällä on kyllä toi Helsingin pitäjän kirkonkylä. Et kun siellä on sydämenä tää keskiaikainen kirkko ja sitten sen ympärille levittyy nämä maalaistalot, niin se on semmoinen ympäristö, mitä ei löydä täältä oikein muualta. Ja se toimii semmoisena vastakohtana sitten tälle urbaanisti sykkivälle kaupungille, että siellä sitten voi mieli levätä.
Monen mielikuva on vaan, että on vaan kehäteitä ja paljon tylsiä lähiöitä, mutta oikeastihan on paljon myös historiaa niiden taustalla. Täällä on tosi vanha historia. ihan päästään kivikautiseen asumiseen ja kaikkeen sellaiseen, että täällähän on asuttu jo paljon ennen kuin Helsingissä on vielä ollenkaan pystytty asustamaan. Tämä on sillä lailla
oli merenpohjaa.
Mahtava historia monella tapaa. Ja täältä löytyy kaikkia helmiä, ihan uskomattoman paljon historiaa.
Ja kerroksellisuutta, sitä löytyy kyllä. Mutta välillä sitä pitää osata sitten etsiä ja ihmiset tai asukkaat ehkä kaipaa niin kuin meiltä sitten apuja siihen, että ne voi löytää ne. Kauneus voi olla siinä betonipinnassa tai modernissa arkkitehtuurissa, mutta mä haen sieltä usein sitten semmoisia jotain erityisiä yksityiskohtia, joita löytyy useammin sitten semmoisista vähän vanhemmista rakennuksista, mutta kunhan siitä löytyy semmoista kerroksellisuutta.
Cultural environmental programs have been made since the 90s in Finland, so it's not especially a new thing. In 2018 in Vantaa, we wanted to have a different kind of approach to making a program. We wanted to do something that answered the problems that our city officers working with cultural environments had in their everyday working life. During this 3-year time, we made a vision, mission, and 50 concrete action points that we will now execute during the upcoming years. Now, people working with cultural environments from different fields of study, from different departments in the city, are working towards the same goals.
About the program, what new things it brought, so I think the most important thing is that it made communication within the different institutions in the city much better. So now it brought actually up for almost all institutions here that there is a great cultural environment here in this town and you can use it. So that when you build new stuff, you can take the themes of the history and the cultural environment. So actually you get more personal buildings. It's not the same as everywhere when you use this history. People get to notice that there is something special about this place when in the surroundings, and not only buildings, but you can make parks and public art that originates in the cultural environment and the history.
Vantaa is a city of stories and events. By telling the history of the city to its residents, we can add to the personality and depth of the experiences. One of the most popular events for residents was the historical walks to different parts of the city and to different cultural environment sites. They were a big hit. 130 walkers per tour, 10 to 20 tours per summer. Last year we had to cut out the participants to 20 due to COVID, but the 20 spots were filled in minutes. Now the history walks are a permanent part of Vantaa City Museum's event calendar during the summertime. When we started the project, a song called Vantaa, a City Without Identity was just published, and that was what I felt when talking to people. Many residents did not know the history of the city, and the identity or the image of the city wasn't that strong. But what I discovered was the enthusiasm towards learning that, hey, Vantaa is a really cool place with lots of history and stories. Of course, I also had many residents who had lived their whole lives in Vantaa. They were talking to me of how important Vantaa and living in here is to them. But these people often felt sorry that environments had changed so much that they didn't recognize them anymore. And they were afraid of this continuing because of the pressure of compact construction is so big. Vantaa is characterized by street art and urban nature. The urban spirit stands out with its genuineness and easiness that also attract people. Vantaa wants to be a courageous and lively culture city where uniqueness, happiness, and the spirit of working together are combined. Vantaa residents appreciate having both the urban and rural sides of the city, new and old, in an appropriate ratio.
One point about Vantaa is like when we started doing this Street at Vantaa thing is that it felt the idea of being really proud Vantaa person felt quite humorous. That it kind of like, hey, could we just have this Vantaa flag and wave it in front of everybody? Like, yeah, Vantaa, because nobody was doing it. Like my perspective from my younger days in Vantaa was a like really small bubble living in that one particular neighborhood. And with my work I've realized that Vantaa is such a huge city that and where people are living in their own little bubbles and then maybe going to Helsinki or... I don't think there exists a stereotypical person from Vantaa. Vantaa is a mixture of great amount of different kinds of people. The shape of Vantaa is like this kind of like very... it's divided. Vantaa has this looping train that goes to the airport and then two city centers in Vantaa. Myyrmäki on the west side and Tikkurila on the east side. Tikkurila is maybe the more official city center because it has all the city officials and their offices there. And sometimes there's this debate that they are forgetting us in the west side and everything is happening on the east side. And while going around in Vantaa and exploring the places, I always like that like you can come to a suburb and then you can just come to an industrial area and then you can suddenly pop into a place where you can see fields and old farmhouses. And Vantaa is interesting in that sense that most of the Vantaa as we know it now, it's built like since 70s. So Vantaa is, in that sense, Vantaa is quite young, but also Vantaa has history that goes further, of course, even to the Stone Age.
In Vantaa's cultural environmental program, almost 100 officials and 3,000 residents discussed the future cultural environments and work related to them. Vantaa's best practice is a 10-phased model which you can take as a whole or just the best parts of it and make it your own. The 10 phases of making a cultural environmental program. First, you have to define all stakeholders that will take part in making the program. It is also important to involve all directors, managers and heads of department from the beginning to get support on what you are doing. You then start with first discussing with the experts of the city, then with the residents, and then bring all to the same table, because that opens up countless possibilities on interaction and understanding. Then when the ideas have been cast and discussions and disagreements have been solved and you have a plan or a list of action points that are concrete enough to be executed, you need to write them down so that it can be commented on. Make sure there is enough time to comment. Last phases of the making of the program is to get the program approved so that it has an official status in your city. Where these kinds of programs usually fail is that there is no time or resources to do the implementation. In Vantaa's project, we had a year for implementation with the project coordinator, me, and the work continues also after my job ends till 2024. You should also have a designated person or a delegate that will follow up regularly of the process. Now, thumbs up for all of your project, you can do it.